Hey folks, this is Tron Games and welcome to Total War Warhammer 3. Today we're going to take a look at Emperor Karl Franz and the Empire and just do kind of a quick getting starting guide for them. So one of the things that the kind of Empire factions have is they kind of have two major campaign effects and faction effects that really can cause a lot of headaches, and so you want to make sure you pay attention to them. The first is called prestige, and so the more prestige that you earn, and you earn it through getting battles, specific buildings, events. There's a bunch of different ways to get prestige. You use that to basically make decisions for other factions. So, for example, like two other factions could, try to declare war on each other, and you could spend prestige to prevent it. You also can use Imperial Authority. The more Imperial Authority you have, basically the more chance you have of improving what's called Elector Count Fealty. So you can see up here, there's this little mark there on the Midland faction. And so they don't have very much fealty. You want to improve this fealty if you can. The higher the fealty gets, the closer it gets to 10, because it says maximum fealty of 10. Eventually, if you can get them up to 10, they will offer to confederate with you. Whereas if it drops to 0, they will actually declare war on you. And so you want to prevent these fealties from hitting 0, and you want to get them higher if you can. If a faction offers themselves to be confederated, it actually reduces your imperial authority. So just be aware, I think it's 3 that it reduces it by, and so the lower you have, or the less imperial authority you have, the more negative effects happen to your faction, and the more that you have, the more income you get, the more growth, the more kind of chance you have at getting more fealty with these other areas. So those are really important pieces. Now, starting off with this faction, you have a really quite advantageous starting position because Altdorf is quite a rich region. And so what you really want to focus on is securing this province off the bat. I just about always upgrade this right away on turn 1. And then what you're going to do here in this first turn is you want to move towards taking these guys out. You can see where they are set up here. They have Grunberg, Ubersreich, Ilhart, and Helmgard. And so you want to focus at the beginning at taking those. Altdorf has, several regions in it. And so one other thing that you want to kind of focus on at the beginning is, if you look around here, and we'll zoom out just a little bit, there are a whole bunch of these factions that have different levels of fealty, and if you want to look at them, you can actually go to the elector counts here, and you can see, okay, these guys only have a fealty of 2 out of 10, whereas Gelt has a fealty of 7 out of 10, and you can go through all of these different factions. So there are certain factions that are close to you, particularly Midland and Wissenland, that have pretty low fealty. So at the beginning of the game, taking territory from these areas is not necessarily a bad thing, because they might declare war on you anyways. If their fealty reaches 0, they can definitely do that. And as you go around, you can see this one here, actually they don't have a fealty mechanic because this isn't a member of the Empire. Same thing over here, you have the vampires. This isn't a member of the Empire, so they don't have actually a fealty mechanic. So what you want to do in this is just keep an eye on these, because you can see your fealty for different places. One thing that I like to do at the beginning is use the electoral machinations or machinations, and I like to try to improve relations with the Golden Order. Balthazar Gelt is a really, really good lord, and if you look closely at the fealty, it actually gives you bonuses for having high relations. So I'm just going to straight away improve relations with the Golden Order, because I want to confederate them early on. The reason I want to confederate them is that once I have um, Balthazar Gelt as a lord, then I can decide how he levels up, and the computer sometimes, um, the AI is questionable sometimes when they level up their heroes and lords. So here we're gonna fight this. Normally I'd fight that battle manually, but we'll start off with just that, and then we can go right over here and take this settlement. So we've got Pyrrhic Victory. Again, I'm just going to auto-resolve this because I would have fought that manually. And I want to occupy this right away. And this is a region that is quite good to take early because it actually has a building in it that gives a significant amount of growth to your faction. So it's good to take that one early. And then one of the things I tend to do with Karl Franz is I tend to upgrade the Reassuring Presence because you do spend a significant amount of time fighting against vampires which have a corruption mechanic. The Empire doesn't actually have a corruption mechanic, so you don't have to worry about anything like that, but other regions do. There are also like Warriors of Chaos in the area, so I tend to like to upgrade that so that he can operate in kind of corrupted territory a little bit more efficiently. Then we have the tech tree. So there are lots of different ways you can go here. I tend to go over to the missile tree quite early because missile units are quite strong. But if we look at the overall faction effects here, I'll just kind of briefly look at these. So they have improved relations with most of the Empire. They gain additional prestige from battles, and they have better campaign movement range. Plus they can recruit slightly higher level lords. So this is a, quite a good thing for keeping Karl Franz fighting, because the more you fight, the more prestige you get. I fought two battles this turn and got almost 500 prestige. So that's really quite a strong start. But Karl Franz himself has some really, really good um, effects. Like, you get improved research rate, you get improved control. He can actually replenish in neutral territory, so like if you weren't at war with these guys, you could take him over there and he would replenish in their region, which is good. You also have basically a massive charge bonus for his army, and he gets reduced upkeep for Reichsguard, and for things like Empire Knights he gives increased recruit rank. Reichsguard are cavalry, so this Guardian ability for them increases their physical resistance. He's quite a strong lord, but you want to have typically a relatively balanced army with him. I tend to early game like to load him up with Reichsguard, and you get those by building this building at level 3. He can recruit really quite experienced Reichsguard units right off the bat. Even just this building gives +5 experience to recruiting Reichsguard and reduces their cost and the recruitment duration. So it's like really good to get this building early on. As far as the starting position goes, like I mentioned earlier in the video, Altdorf is quite a rich region, and you want to, just keep in mind that your fealty in this region and this region are quite low. So like at any point, these groups might hit 1 or 0 and declare war on you, and that could happen through an event or through something else. The major enemies that you want to pay attention to off the bat is, so there are some orcs up here that tend to expand down this way. They tend to can become an early game threat. There's actually a Beastman faction that's up in this area. I think it's Kazrak, who often will come down this way. So he can be a really annoying early game threat because he just deletes settlements. They blow them up. And so if you take, this province and he comes in and blows up a settlement, it can be really annoying. And then the only other factions that you really want to be really aware of is there's a vampire faction over here, and then there's the vampires over in this direction. Now they start off pretty small, but the thing is that the longer these vampires are left alone, the more they just they're coming this direction, whether you like it or not. So you want to be really quite aware of that. And then one other faction that I've had cause me issues in a few campaigns is this one, the Warriors of Chaos Fecundites faction. These guys sometimes end up really causing problems because they do quite a bit of corruption and plague mechanics, so they're very, very annoying in some campaigns. One of the big things that you want to focus on to start with is build your Imperial authority early on. The Imperial authority mechanic gives you good bonuses, but most importantly, having a certain amount of it will allow you to do a really early confederation. So getting Gelt on into your faction early is really good. Another good area to shoot for is if you can take Marienburg, like if this gets blown up by the vampires or by some of the other factions that are in the area, go and take this area. It's quite rich. It's a very good city to hold. So for now, we'll just bump the turn ahead, and while we do that, kind of discuss a good initial strategy. So I've already talked about taking this territory. You want to take the province of Altdorf. What you want to do with this is you want to take it and you want to fortify it. I don't tend to move very far out of this region until I've walled up all of these cities, because the reality is the vampires are coming. These groups are likely going to declare war on you, and the vampires are also coming from the other direction too. So making sure that you're well equipped to defend this province is really important, because it's super rich, and getting Altdorf leveled up is really, really good. You usually get a battle wizard of some kind on the second term with Karl Franz's faction, so it's good to check out what trait they get too, because sometimes they get good ones. So this is actually an amber wizard. Sometimes you get different types. You get light wizards or other ones. So that's kind of a really good guide. The one last thing I want to mention is there is actually a special building in Ubersreich that gives you walls and gives this settlement a very, very good garrison. I also like to take this place as well. Leveling up these places can be really, really good for holding territory. There's one here, and then there's another one up here. Those are really good places. If you can confederate Gelt early, you also get this one. These sections can be really, really useful at controlling access to this area of the map, because they have really, really strong garrisons. You can see even at this one, which is like, it's turn 2, this is going to be like a level 1 settlement. And this settlement has already got a full stacked garrison, whereas even if we go to Altdorf, like Altdorf has a big garrison, but it's not as big as what's in this one. So holding these choke points is really, really good for defending this area. So with that, I usually go here first, and then I come towards this one because I want to continue to recruit units along the way. And yeah, basically you're gonna get in a bunch of fights with these guys, focusing on leveling up Karl Franz early while you secure this province is really quite good. And again, we want to go back to check our elector counts, and we can see Gelt is here. He's still at 7, but I'm gonna go back in here and I want to improve relations with him again, because I wanna absorb him quickly. For the rest of this, we're just going to advance the turn again, and then yeah, you're basically focusing on securing that province and getting set up. The stronger you can make Karl Franz early on, the better. He's quite a good lord. So yeah, with that, that's all I've got for this one. If you like the content, feel free to leave a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel for more in the future. Thanks for watching.